that it would be a grave mistake for anyone out there to attempt to threaten or do any harm to or try to intimidate any witnesses or anyone involved in any of these federal prosecutions, because the force of the law will be brought down on them, and we will not tolerate it.
Is Michael Lohman safe right now?
Well, certainly we believe he is, and it's our job to make sure that all of our witnesses are safe.
How important is Mike Lohman to your ongoing efforts?
I'm not going to place a value on in terms of degrees. Anybody's important. Everyone who accepts responsibility and comes forward is important to us. And so I think what's most important to us is the truth. We're going to seek the truth. We're going to do everything that the Constitution and the laws of the United States allow in seeking out the truth in this case, and leaving no stone unturned in making sure that no officer, no individual who violated the public trust, violated civil rights of our citizens, or violated federal law goes unpunished. And we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that's done.
You know, police officers have a certain bond. Now that one has come forward right now, do you think others will follow now?
I don't want to speculate. I think it is always our belief and our hope that individuals, when they get a chance to evaluate the strength of the government's evidence in cases like this, that they at some point realize that it's in their interest, in the government's interest, to accept responsibility and come forward. That happens in most of our cases. Can't speculate about what will happen in this case. We will forge ahead because our evidence is strong.
Do you find that you're getting more cooperation now from the NOPD's top brass?
I'm not going to comment on what kind of cooperation we got from where. I think that would be inappropriate to do that.
Two questions.
What kind of jail time are you guys going to...
Have you spoken to Warren Riley today? And if so, in what context and what was the extent of that conversation?
I think it would be inappropriate for me to indicate whom I might have spoken with, or Dave Welker or Bobby might have spoken with NOPD. Obviously, we have had, at various times communications with NOPD. I'm not going to go into the contents of our communications with Rankin NOPD.
On another note, Mike Lohman was involved as supervisor in the 6th District, which has been a case where you made numerous federal cases, crime cases on, non-civil rights cases. Does his guilty plea today affect any other non-civil rights cases that are currently in the pipeline?
We rely in when we bring into federal court, individuals who are charged with federal crimes, and those crimes are investigated by men and women of NOPD. Those witnesses who testify are evaluated. Their credibility is evaluated. Their backgrounds are evaluated. And when we put witnesses on the stand who are police officers, we make sure that those individuals are of good character with good backgrounds. Our cases have rested on that bedrock. They'll continue to rest on that bedrock, and I don't expect that there'll be any adverse effect in any case.
Judge Lohman said 5 years in prison, but obviously he's cooperating still, Mike Lohman. What do you guys recommend or foresee as jail time that he could spend? Do you have any recommendations right now?
That's not a place we're going to go. We, under the statute, Mr. Lohman faces up to 5 years in prison. In this case, as in all cases in which individuals plead guilty and agree to cooperate, at the appropriate time, we will evaluate the full nature, extent, duration, quality of that person's cooperation, if in fact it's been given, and determine if there is anything called substantial assistance. If there is in fact substantial assistance, we'll bring that to the attention of the court. Not going to predict, not going to limit ourselves there at all.
Tim, how far does cover up goes? Does it stop with Lohman, or?
No, I don't want to say. I think it would be. I think to first of all, I'm not going to speculate. Secondly, that is a very sensitive matter. That is a subject of a very sensitive ongoing grand jury investigation. We have no preconceived notions about the scope of this cover-up. I think we are going to follow the evidence, as we do in this case, in all cases, wherever that evidence takes us. And I think that's what makes us strong, and I think that's what will make any cases that come from this investigation, I think, compelling.
Any concerns that Lohman admitting he lied in this case affecting other prosecutions, convictions that have already been won at any level?
I'm not going to speculate about that. I certainly don't foresee that, but I'm certainly, again, not going to speculate about that. The witnesses that who we put on stand in the cases that we try here are witnesses that I think can stand any test. And so it's certainly, again, I'm not going to speculate about that.
But other cases in which he's investigated or testified in, it seems that he what's credible in those cases?
I'm not going to speculate about that. I think every case has to be evaluated on its own.
Jim, do you know where the upper ranks NOPD were on the day of Danziger Bridge and in the days to come?
These are great questions, but they're questions that have to do about the substance of our investigation, so we're really not prepared to go there.
There's been so much good news about New Orleans in the national and international media lately. Some may see this and say, the same old New Orleans, and there's more bad news coming out of it.
No, this is
good news.
We've had these questions, over and over again every time we stand before you, which is a lot. Whether it's announcing the conviction or guilty plea of a public official, whether it's a councilman or whether it's an elected official or what have you, whether it's Orleans Parish or St. John the Baptist or whatever. The bottom line is that New Orleans is a great city with great people. The people and the press, as well as the government, the federal government in this city, have been increasingly applying pressure against individuals who violate the public trust. I believe that the cases we've done, the public corruption cases we've done and continue to do, including this case, is evidence of a city, of a region that is increasingly intolerant of ineffective government. I think that this is yet another affirmation, I think, of the fact that we will seek justice fairly, we'll demand it wherever it is, and I think that it's evidence of our commitment to make sure that every citizen out there, no matter who they are, no matter what their color, their creed, their religion, their economic status, whatever, that those citizens are safe, can depend on their public officials, and that their civil rights will not be violated, they'll be protected. And I think this is, this news is tough. It's hard. But at the end of the day, what is happening here is a good thing. It's continuing to be good. And I think people should see it that way.
Did Lohman wear a wire for the last couple of weeks of this investigation?
I'm not going to comment on what he has or hasn't done in terms of cooperation.
We didn't have an opportunity to read the factual basis just yet, but did he cover up the fact that the two people who were killed, that they were shot in the back, or that they were killed unjustified?
I'm not going to go into that detail. I urge you to look at the factual basis. It speaks for itself. The factual basis indicates that Mr. Lohman arrived on the scene right after the shooting ended. Pardon? And that in order to, having learned about the circumstances, in order to help NOPD justify the shooting that appeared to be not legitimate, the cover-up began.
There you go. Along with the FBI.
That's the New Orleans side.
Washington, D.C. wrapping up.
I hope you all understand, if you tell your media outlets, as I indicated to you before, this is an ongoing matter. So we're not going to be, I'm not going to be, nor are we going to be available for any additional press after this. It is of the utmost importance that we really hunker down and work on this case without even the possibility of continuing to comment on it, prejudice, possible future actions. So this is pretty much going to be it, although you'll continue to have, obviously, access to public record documents.
Jim, talk about the judge's directive. There was information under seal that came out in the media. What do you plan to do? How do you plan to?
Look, Alan, I can tell you right now, the judge was obviously referring to a flurry of media comments in which there was speculation in the paper, on TV, about an upcoming guilty plea, things like this. That was I think for those of you in the press who called us in the U.S. Attorney's Office and called the FBI and called civil rights, I think you found those exercises very frustrating, and we apologize for that because you got absolutely nothing from us, not even hints about what was coming. We quite frankly, it's never a good thing if information, whether it's accurate information or disinformation, prior to an event gets out there. It is in our interest to make sure that public record, accurate information gets out at the appropriate time. And we will do whatever we have to do to make sure that we learn, where that came from. And of course, now you have to understand, there were individuals outside the United States who had access to some of this information, some of these documents. There were not members of the government. So, I'm not going to draw any conclusions, but we do things by the numbers here. I think every member of the press knows that, and every one of you to us, to a man and a woman, and who deal with us. So, it's I'm proud of our record. We're going to continue to fiercely defend that. Okay, thanks.